Good evening, everybody. You are listening to live radio here on UCY.TV. This is Boiler Room, and I am your host, Jim Funke. The guy over there in the chair in Virginia, he's Lance Musser, and he is going to be with us for the next 60 minutes, as will I. So you can listen to us both run our mouths and talk about things that are going on the planet. Good evening, Lance. How are you, my friend?
Good evening, brother. Just got done mowing the lawn and drinking a beer, so I'm good to go.
Right on, man. Right on. How's everything over on the East Coast over there by the brain dead collective that we call Congress and the administration?
You know, you couldn't have had a more beautiful 73 slight wind from the south.
Ooh, nice.
You couldn't ask for a better day.
It was pretty awesome here today too, man. It was mid-60s. The sun's still shining bright. We had big white puffy clouds, no chemtrail. This is 2 days in a row with no chemtrails and just bright blue sky. Mm-hmm. And Lil was cranking. The wind's still blowing a little bit. Well, it's calmed down now, but this afternoon it picked up a little, not too awful bad though. It was beautiful, man. Beautiful. Windows are open. Critter mic's on.
Mine too.
I haven't heard Carl yet, and the sun is just now going down, so maybe we'll get him to vocalize on the radio this evening. That would be quite interesting for everybody, I think.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, let's jump into the Smoke'em's Market Minute and let everybody know what the debacle's going on Wall Street, how it's faring out.
You know, manipulated again. I think the markets are reacting a little bit. To the Ukraine stuff, which I know we're going to get into later, which will be really good.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But, you know, if you had a 401k today, it would have ended up the week down. If you were trying to buy a house, it would have been a little cheaper for you. I actually priced out a loan today, 4.25, on a regular 20% down. It was 4.25, conventional, which is phenomenal. So, you know, you have, the illusion of a good market still going strong. That's how I'll put it.
Yeah. The manipulation.
In fact, yeah, right. Digging into my first one,
the Wall Street. Did you listen to Manarino?
I did. It was like 8, but after about 5.5 or 6, he was cut off.
Yeah, but some of the factoids that he dropped.
It was great.
Whoosh,
yep.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Wall Street is encouraged by the strong job reports, though, because the jobless rate dropped to. This is where we need a soundboard. Drum roll, 6.3%.
Wah, wah.
6.3% unemployed. U.S. stock futures jumped after the latest jobs data showed a jobless rate that improved.
Make sure you throw that caveat in there that it's 6.3% of the people that they choose to look at are unemployed.
Yeah, that answered the survey that answered the way we wanted them to.
Right.
U.S. jobs data this morning is sure to drive the trading session, which it did. So that was good news for our great market. However, there's 3 stock market crash indicators are suggesting that the current bull market may be running out of steam and is very susceptible to a significant correction. Been warning about it. Everybody's been warning about it for a while. 2 of the stock market crash indicators are weakness in the key sectors, and the other is a technical development in the S&P's 500 index chart. I think hold on here. We've stalled out the high end of the trading range. It's really been in a holding pattern for the last 2 months because if you noticed, it has been kind of steady, so more for the last 2 months.
What?
But
what's been steady?
The market. I mean, it's actually been up and down, but it's at where it was a couple months ago.
Well, that's true.
It was up at the highs. It dropped down. It's back up. So all in all, you can call it steady. It's moving sideways, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when that occurs at the tail end of a 5-year bull run, with the markets up almost 300% over that time, that's a problem because it indicates artificial inflation. Pending home sales.
Really? Come on. All right.
There's this Gina girl, founder of Chantico Global, said she sees the weakness in the housing sector as a stock market crash indicator because pending home sales are down 7.4%. We've talked about the 6,000 jobs that are mortgage related that are no longer exist. And NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is projecting sales of existing homes to fall again another 4%. Add new home sales plunged 13.4% from the last period last year and 14.5% from the previous month. So those are the pillars of the economy that are holding it up. And once they crash,
correct.
Yeah, once they crash, it's going to go on down. So, silver, you've always talked about silver.
Yes.
Ran across a good, silver is the new, one, but it was on Outsider Club. Silver prices have been slumping ever since they hit the 2014 high of $22 in February. Now the meta is trading around 19 and that price is screaming a buying opportunity, but you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what Wall Street's doing. Look at the option market. It's clear hedge funds have ordered their traders to go long on silver prices, betting on the silver EFTs. And on last Friday, there were 36,000 call contracts. Those are bullish bets taken out on iShares Silver Trust compared to 15,000 puts, the bearish bets, the same day. So in all, traders have exchanged 3 calls for every put that's changed this year. So that makes sense. Silver suffered its worst performance in 30 years, falling 20%, and there's not much lower it can go. So
wait till you hear what Scott has to say about silver.
Yeah.
It's if you have some extra money and that's where you want to put it, maybe for the short term, like through between now and August, buy some silver, people. Because I bet you when this correction happens, and it's coming really, really soon here now, because especially in silver, it might not be the whole stock market, but silver price is going to correct eminently.
Well, it's being artificially lowered, so right. They
can't keep up. The mining can't keep up with it. It's getting ready to jump.
Right.
It's getting ready to jump significantly. So if you've got a little extra cash and you want to make a little extra cash, grab up some silver right now.
Well, I mean, let's put it in common sense. All the big countries are buying tons and tons and metatons of silver.
And the mines can't keep up.
And they know, because they know that the price of silver is so undervalued that when it corrects,
and they won't stop buying.
They are going to be sitting on a gold mine
of silver.
Full of silver.
Right. And they know they won't stop buying. So, and they know the price it's going to be self-driven. You know what I mean? The people are going to drive the price up by buying. So go ahead.
Absolutely. No, that, I really don't have a lot, anymore on the financial stuff.
Okay.
I do have a local story that was a nationwide story. That's a follow-up on, and I know that you've never heard word boo about it. So,
boo.
Whether you want me to go into it now,
is it financial?
No, it was a local story about that shooting at the pier where the truck driver,
Oh, okay. Let's do the videos and then we'll hit that and then we'll hit the other ones.
And I want that to be the first story when we get off the financial, because I think you're going to be going, huh?
Right.
Huh?
Okay. We'll let Scott have his 221 and then we'll do, Greg for a few and then we'll jump on that. And maybe Carl will talk here. Oh shit.
Big news.
Imagine that.
Ding.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hyper Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book
Listen
Ramblings
to what
of
he
a
says
Madman.
about
Here's
silver,
the
everybody.
various items. First, China's economy. Since 1872, the U.S. has been the world's largest economy. However, this year, if one can believe any entity associated with the IMF, China may become the world's largest economy. Perhaps soon we can say, we're number 2. Yikes. Next, silver bear market. After 3 years of declining silver prices, Jeff Clark from KC Research for 6 Reasons believes the silver bear market is coming to an end. Here are a few without going into detail. 1. The U.S. Mint can't keep up with demand. 2. India and China will not stop buying. 3. Sources for silver supply are being depleted. Next, COMEX braces. The CME is considering introducing daily limits on price moves in gold and silver futures. Now, after all this time, why would they do that unless they know something is about to go down, or maybe even up? Next, 16 signs you are in the Matrix. Here are a few. 1. You work hard doing something you hate to earn intrinsically worthless fiat dollars. 2. You knowingly drink fluoridated water. 3. You're skeptical of any area of life that hasn't been proven or validated by modern science. 4. You pay taxes to people you believe should be in prison. Speaking of prison, next, 5 facts about U.S. prison system. Here are a few without detail. 1. Because of its prison system, the U.S. is the only country in the world where more men get raped than women. 2. Solitary confinement used widely in American prisons is regarded internationally as torture. 3. The food served in prisons is often stale, moldy, undercooked, unhealthy, and scarce. Just imagine the FEMA camps. Next, 17 U.S. economy facts. Here are a few. 1. The home ownership rate has dropped to the lowest level in 19 years. 2. 20% of all families do not have a single member that is employed. 3. 49 million Americans are dealing with food insecurity. Next, Obama-Rec website. The price for fixing the Obama-Rec website is now $121 million. This is $30 million more than projected just a few months ago. This scam just gets bigger, folks. Next, it's all politics. True to form, the EPA has delayed their economic destroying climate change regulations that lack the data to support them until after the midterm elections. Like the IRS, the taxpayer-supported EPA is apparently playing politics. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
Did you folks hear that? 22% of the households in the United States have no one working. And you're going to believe that the unemployment rate is 6.3%?
Well, I was about to say, I don't know where he's getting his information from because the news just told me that it was 6.3%. I think he's on drugs.
Okie dokie.
I don't know what that guy, he needs to be wearing a tinfoil hat. He's crazy.
He does.
He's crazy.
It's a beret.
He is so awesome.
He is. And he gets his news from all over the planet. You know, it's not just local shit. It's, if you follow his links and follow his, website and stuff.
Yeah.
And
he's always got a great saying, at the end.
At the end of the videos, yeah.
Yeah, quote, at the end of the videos.
The daily quote. I should start reading those.
Oh, I do. Yeah. You
on the air.
Some of them out loud. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Here's Greg. It's 11 minutes long. We're not going to play the whole 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes, because he kind of rambles, but about the first 6 of it is good information. So, hello, Greg.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, shit, it's an ad. Man, this lady just won't stop talking.
Well, you got to monetize your ads now to be able to put your own picture up.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Manarino. How are you today? It is Friday, May 2nd, 2014. All right, people. Really, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm going to try to summarize it in this video for you.
Bullshit!
Because we need to keep our eye on a few things, and we can capitalize on what's going on. And really, that's what this is all about here. Let's talk about more nonsense and propaganda. First of all,
you know this guy's making bank because he's calling it.
Videos. Please, if you have not seen my last 2 videos, I would suggest watching them. Go to my channel here. Click on this little head here. It'll take you to my channel, and you can see the last several videos I've done. It's just so important so you can gain a real perspective as to what's actually going on. Not what they're trying to force feed us all. With that in mind, let me say this. As I am doing this video blog, the equity markets are still open. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down about 60 points. All of the major indices are down right now. We saw a major move with regard to the U.S. 10-year, the yield dropping below 2.6. Very telling. Gold and silver are up as well. And it's really kind of interesting, people. The mainstream media is trying to play these jobs numbers that we got today, and this is the real issue I want to talk about.
Listen
First,
to this, everybody.
We're trying to play this as a good thing. Let's just really look at this for a moment here. So we found out that the jobs added were 288,000, and that surpassed Wall Street's number of about 210,000. But we lost 806,000 people from the labor force We're at a 36-year low here, people. This is historic. So we get this drop in unemployment to 6.3, and it's not because of jobs that we added. It's because of jobs that we lost, because people are not looking for work anymore. They're becoming discouraged. They're earning less money here. So they're not counted. Persona non grata. They don't matter. It's laughable when you listen to these pundits on the mainstream media trying to play this up as a good thing. They can spin it every way they want. But if you ask me, let's see, we lose 806,000 from the labor force. We gain 288,000 jobs. That's a net negative. Huge. As far as I'm concerned, GDP, we found that out recently. 0.1% for the first quarter. Are you kidding me, people? Despite what's going on here in the stock market, we are an economy in collapse. And they're going to play this up, and they're going to force feed us more and more propaganda for a lot of reasons. This issue in the Ukraine is becoming more and more evident, and that's another reason for the propaganda. Understand, it really is propaganda. Whenever we're in a new Cold War, there's no doubt about that. Okay. So, over there, they're looking at what's going on over here. And believe me, Putin's not stupid. He understands this is all lies and propaganda. And he probably thinks the American people are the biggest dunces on the face of the earth. He may have a point there for the vast majority. That's absolutely the truth. So again, whatever they're trying to tell us and they're trying to spread across the mainstream media, is nothing but lies and propaganda, and they're going to try to spin everything they can. Even these are absolutely abysmal numbers here, people. We're a mass exodus out of the U.S. labor force. It's unprecedented, and it is historic. And they're all trying to, do cartwheels around the office about the 288,000 jobs that we added. And again, if you were to analyze these 288,000 that were added, they're all, in service sector, part-time, nothing that people can sustain themselves on. So, I mean, if you don't get it by now, that despite the stock market distortions, that it's moving further and further away from the fundamentals that support it, we are an economy in collapse, beyond any shadow of any doubt here.
He's laying it out for everybody to listen to.
Capitalize on this. There's so much opportunity abounding around us that we're never going to see this again in the history of our lifetimes. I guarantee that. And I go over this.
Hopefully.
Over and over again. How you need to make this work for you. So let's see.
Buy silver.
He's going to start talking to the homies now and telling them how to cash out on your fucking, did the F-bomb. On your blood. On your blood. That's exactly what the stock market is doing now. They are drawing blood from the economy because there's no more money left. It's now blood.
Yeah, they're running out of places that they can milk us. Well, actually, they got the new tolls on the interstates. They found another way to milk us a little bit more.
Yeah, Okay. Anyway, sorry about the F-bomb, folks. I'm really, really, really going to try to stop cursing on my show. I want to boost my listenership. I want more people to be able to sit down and give it a listen without all the cursing and stuff. That's one of my new things that I'm going to strive to do, from yesterday forward, actually, was when I made a change. So
I'll do that with you too. You mean on the air only, right?
Yes, on the air only.
Oh, okay.
So if you text me or something, you're liable to get some blue text. No,
I got you.
But anyway, go ahead with your story now. You've got the local story about the shooting.
All right. So everybody remembers not too long ago, the story. Yes, somebody's up there.
I just wanted to say hi back to him.
So everybody remembers the story a couple weeks ago or a month ago about that the guy that drove his truck through the front gate with a TWIC card, which is one of those civilian, I don't remember exactly what it stands for.
Worker, something.
Yeah, something like that. So, and then he parked his truck, walked up, ripped a pistol from a lady guard, and then somebody came down to help her, and he got shot while protecting the other person.
He got killed.
Yeah, he got shot and killed. So, for the past 5 weeks, Sharon Blair has wondered about her youngest son's final moments. Amidst the pride for what 24-year-old Master at Arms, second class, Mark Mayo did that night are questions of why and how this could happen. It could have been avoided, Blair said. I'm appalled. I'm hurt, but I'm proud of my son. Before Thursday, Blair didn't know that the man who murdered her son was allowed to access Naval Station Norfolk without showing any ID. Unbelievable. And I pray that all those responsible are held accountable. Now, it's not going to bring embarrassment and shame to the Navy. That guy should have never gotten on the base and never gotten that far. Blair says all the Navy told her was that 35-year-old Jeffrey Savage was given the okay to come on base. So if I drive up there, give him a wave, get through the 2 sections, get out of my vehicle, I think I'd be gunned down. It was an unthinkable chain of events that ended with Mayo's last act of courage. Now, hold on. And let me open this one. Several federal sources are telling News Channel 3 the truck driver who motored past Naval Station Norfolk security and killed a sailor was waved through the checkpoint because of a misunderstanding. The driver did not show any ID to get on the base. The driver later disarmed a watchstander aboard the destroyer and fatally shot MA2 Mark Mayo, who rushed to help her. Sources say Mayo, mortally wounded, fired several rounds into the intruder, Jeffrey Savage. A third sailor with an M4 rifle also shot Savage, who died. A day after the shooting, the base commander, Captain Robert Clark, said Savage used a Transportation Worker Identification Credential, TWIC, to get onto the base. A day later, the commander said a TWIC card by itself should not have granted Savage base access. Truckers were also supposed to present a work order or other documentation. Several people...
Bill lading, where they're going, what kind of load they're carrying, why is it going there this time of night, blah, 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 blah.
Et cetera, et cetera. Several people, including our Senator Mark Warner, asked how someone like Savage, with a history of convictions for drug dealing and manslaughter, was able to pass the TWIC background check.
Because they don't care.
This gets better. But this week, federal sources said TWIC was not an issue in this case. They said the gate guard waved Savage through. Sources say this is what happened. On March 24th, Savage pulled up the Naval Station Norfolk security gate behind the wheel of a Freightliner tractor trailer cab. He rolled the window down part way and made a hand gesture. The guard believed Savage was indicating he needed to make a U-turn and let the truck pass. The truck did not turn around. The guard then assumed the truck was heading to a nearby parking lot to turn, but the truck motored further into the base. The guard then got into a car to go find the truck. The guard spotted the Freightliner cab parked near Pier 1. It was idling, but no one was inside. Moments later, gunfire blasted on the Mahon. According to our sources, the petty officer of the watch confronted Savage as he boarded the destroyer. He demanded her pistol, then took it from her. Mayo raced to help and used his body to protect the disarmed sailor. Savage shot Mayo. Though mortally wounded, Mayo returned fire, striking Savage. A third sailor with an M4 rifle also shot Savage, who died. Mayo was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal for heroism. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Investigations by our local News Channel 3 and Senator Warner showed truck drivers with violent felonies were easily able to get TWIC cards, a card needed for any base access, and those investigations are driving changes to the program, but federal sources at the TWIC card played no role in getting Savage onto the base. I thought that was very interesting because you hadn't heard it anywhere else.
Unbelievable, man. In this day and time, especially on a military installation, that's just unbelievable.
I go on Fort Eustis all the time because of my Kiwanis Club. We do the Easter egg hunt. And I'm telling you, I got to go through a separate tent. I have to open the glove box, the center console, all four doors, the trunk, in the hood, walk 5 feet in front of the vehicle, and turn around, face away from the vehicle while they search it with mirrors underneath. This is to get on the base without a pass every single time. There's no way that guy should have gotten on in this day and age of security after 9/11. Terrorist, obviously.
You realize that destroyer, the Mahan, you know the firepower that thing has underneath its deck, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if this would have been not just some Joey bag of donuts, if this would have been somebody that had, or a group of people in the back of that truck, you know, in the sleeper cab or whatever, that knew what they were doing when they got aboard that vessel, that could have been seriously bad.
Dude, that guy could have had a dirty bomb. He could have had anything.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if they could have,
I mean,
go in there and start flipping switches and pushing buttons and launching, you know, cause they've got all kinds of nasties. That's a destroyer.
I mean, he wouldn't even have to. That's what I'm saying. If he had something on his truck, he could have driven straight through every barricade and drove right into the ship and exploded his thing, and that would have caused a chain reaction.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, you know, that could have been devastating. And, I mean, the guy got on without showing a lick of ID. That's pretty amazing. I thought it was interesting enough to read on there.
Yeah, no kidding. Thanks for that. Scott had the thing about the U.S. economy, and I wanted to go into that a little bit. This is from the Economic Collapse blog. Excuse me. 17 facts to show anyone that believes that the U.S. economy is just fine is ludicrous. Fact number 1. The home ownership rate in the United States has dropped to its lowest level in 19 years. That's why Lance is getting out of the mortgage business. I'm pretty sure that's why, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I lived through the 2008 crash.
Can't do it again.
And,
not going to try.
No, I'm not going to try.
No.
I have better options.
Number 2, consumer spending for the durable goods has dropped by 3.23% since November of last year. This is a clear sign that there is a slowdown happening. Number 3, major retailers are closing stores at the fastest pace that we have seen since the collapse of Lehman. When was Lehman? Anybody? Lance?
Lehman? That was 08 or 09.
Right, 08. That's what started it off.
Well, I mean, it really, that was the big
Right,
one.
that was.
There was like 30 of them before that crashed, but not big enough to get mainstream media attention.
Right. Number 4, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 20% of all families in the United States do not have a single member that is employed. That means 1 out of every 5 families in the entire country is completely unemployed. Look around your neighborhood. How many houses you got in your neighborhood? 20, 25, 30? 6 of them don't have jobs at all.
Shit, how many of them you got for sale?
Right, yeah, that too.
In that same neighborhood.
Exactly.
Because they couldn't afford them anymore.
It's just, wake up, people. Wake up.
It's a recovery.
Wake up. These facts. Wake up.
It's a recovery. We're in a recovery.
Number 5. There are 1.3 million fewer jobs in the U.S. economy than when last recession began in December of 2007. Meanwhile, our population has continued to grow steadily since that time. Number 6. According to the new report from the National Employment Law Project, the quality of jobs that have been created, quote unquote, since the end of the last recession does not match the quality of the jobs lost during the last recession. Lower wage industries constituted 22% of recession losses, but 44% of recovery growth. Mid-wage industries constituted 37% of recession losses, but only 26% of recovery growth. Higher wage industries constituted 41% of recession losses and only 30% of recovery growth. Number 7. After adjusting for inflation, men who work full-time in America today make less money than men who worked full-time in America 40 years ago. 40. Number 8. It's hard to believe, but 62% of all Americans make $20 or less an hour. 62%.
Let me give you a correlation, just so everybody can keep it in mind. $10 an hour is $20,000 a year. $20 an hour is $40,000 a year. $30 an hour, $60,000 a year. That's how you do your easy math.
Number 9. 9 of the top 10 occupations in the U.S. pay an average wage of less than $35,000 a year. For your information, folks, that is right on the borderline.
That's $17 an hour.
Yeah, but that's right on the borderline of, like, if you're a family of 4, I think that's right on the poverty line.
Yep. Just to correlate it, that's $17 an hour.
Yep. Number 10, the middle class in Canada now makes more money than the middle class in the United States. Number
Canada's
11.
got their own issues, though.
Yeah, that's true. Number 11, according to one recent study, 40% of all Americans could not come up with $2,000 right now if there was a major emergency. Number 12, less than 1 out of every 4 Americans has enough money to put away to cover 6 months of expenses if there was a job loss or major emergency. Number 13, 56% of all Americans have subprime credit in 2014. That is over half of this country has subprime credit. Now, Lance, my brother, explain to the people what subprime means.
Well, I think their definition of subprime is probably a little bit different than what other people consider subprime. I think they're considering subprime probably 640, 650, 640 and below. But, you know,
720 is like average, yeah. Or 720. If you're 720 or less, you're probably not going to get a loan.
No. I mean, you can get a loan at 620. You can get a mortgage, FHA with a 620 credit score, a VA loan with a 620 credit score, a conventional loan with a 620 credit score. You can even get mortgage insurance at 620. But your rates are going to be much higher than is if you reach that 700. Right. So I think they're considering subprime 640 and below.
Okay.
But you can still buy a house.
An extremely expensive one. Number 14.
One in Rantoul.
Yeah. There are now 49 million Americans that are dealing with food insecurity. That's not being able to feed yourself for more than 3 days. That's what they consider food insecurity. Number 15. 10 years ago, the number of women in the U.S. that had jobs outnumbered the number of women in the U.S. on food stamps by more than 2 to 1. Now the number of women in the U.S. on food stamps actually exceeds the number of women that have jobs. Number 16. 69% of the federal budget is spent either on entitlements or welfare programs. Let me read that one again. I want everybody to understand what I just said. 69% of the federal budget is spent on entitlements and welfare. Number 17, the last one. The number of Americans receiving benefits from the federal government each month exceeds the number of full-time workers in the private sector by more than 60 million.
Yeah, we've spoken to that one. That's awful.
So if you think the economy is in a uptick, what are they calling it? Uptick. If you think that the unemployment rate is really 6.3%, if you think you owe another dime of your tax money to this goddamn government, think again. Please.
Yeah, proof that you are, a slave to the system or something like that is you pay 25 to 30% of your income to somebody that you despise. Yeah. The IRS.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Here's another one that I wanted to hit. And this is another one that Scott brought up. 5 stunning facts about the American prison system. The one that he talked about was just breathtaking almost, but number 1. Because of its prison system, the U.S. is the only country in the world where more men are raped than women. I don't know if you people heard him say that, but that stopped me in my tracks today. Mm-hmm. According to the 2011 report from the DOJ, the Department of Justice, nearly 1 in 10 prisoners report having been raped or sexually assaulted by other inmates, staff, or both. According to a revised report from the U.S. Department of Justice, there were 216,000 victims of rape in the U.S. prison system in 2008. That's roughly 600 a day, or 1 every...
And that's the ones
1
reported.
every hour.
That's the ones reported.
No, excuse me, 25 an hour. 25 inmates an hour are being raped in the prisons in the United States.
The ones reported.
Those numbers are of victims, not instances. Thank you, Lance, for bringing that up, which could be much higher since many victims were reportedly assaulted multiple times throughout the year. Excluding prison rapes, there are about 200,000 rapes a year in America. 91% of those victims are women. That's outside the prison system. If these numbers are accurate, this means that America is the only country in the world where more men are raped than women. Even the number of unreported rapes outside of prisons were substantially larger than most experts believe. The fact that many victims in prison tend to be raped repeatedly would indicate that rape against men is at least comparable to rape against women. Oh my God, man. Okay, here's fact number 2. There are more black slaves in America today than in 1850. This sounds outrageous, but how can there be more slaves in America today before the Civil War than before the Civil War? First, consider there are more black men in prison today than there were slaves in 1850. According to Michael Alexander, an Ohio State law professor who cited the last census immediately before the Civil War, this comparison does not account for changes in population, but the statistic is accurate in terms of sheer numbers. There are more black men in prison now than there were slaves in 1850. That's just ridiculous, man. I think there's more than 2.5 million people in this country in prison right now. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to wonder how many of the rape people were in there for like non-violent offenses like weed or, right, a DUI or, got to wonder.
Yeah. Number 3, solitary confinement, widely used in American prisons, is regarded internationally as torture. We're the only country that does it. This form of punishment has become increasingly common in the U.S. since it was introduced as a part of America's supermax prison system, which began growing in the mid-'80s. Prisoners held in solitary confinement are typically kept in a small windowless cell for 23 hours a day with minimal access to lawyers, family, and guards. The number of prisoners currently in solitary is estimated to be around 80,000. Though this number is growing faster than the overall prison population, indicating the method is becoming increasingly normalized. This country just makes me want to vomit. Number 4, the food served in prisons is often stale, moldy, undercooked, unhealthy, and scarce. In the 1940s, prison food used to be good, offering a wide variety of options. Today, they call it SOS, shit on a shingle. The reality is not much worse. The state budget cuts and the tend to privatize prisons and prison services has substantially cut food variety and quality. Incentives to cut costs exist in the institutional and individual level. In Alabama, state law allows only law enforcement to pocket leftover funds after feeding prisoners, provided they still provide for the basic needs. So there you know where the money's going. They feed them peanut butter and bread and a glass of milk, and they put the rest of the money in their pocket.
You're going to have a lot of critics that say, well, they're prisoners. Screw them. They shouldn't get anything but bread and water anyway. I'm just playing the other side of that card. That's all.
In April of 2008, 277 prisoners at Florida's Santa Rosa Correctional Institution became sick after eating chili. The Tampa Bay Times reported that the Philadelphia-based food provider, Philadelphia, they're getting their food in Florida from Philadelphia. Aramark, I know everybody's heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Landed the state contract in 2001 and is currently paid $2.67 per inmate for 3 meals a day. It serves about 60,000 inmates across Florida and contends it has saved the state $100 million in food costs. The chili story is not an anomaly. It's been repeated across the country, including in New Jersey, where Aramark also provides meals.
It's probably all organic, non-GMO, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. The food poisoning is just an added bonus, people. Right. I think the last one. Number 5. Many prisoners are forced to work real jobs for private corporations, forcing down wage in the rest of the economy. We talk about this all the time. I know Doty's got all kinds of factoids about this one.
Yep.
While cheap sweatshop labor is becoming increasingly common across the country, no one takes better advantage of the system than the prisons. Alternet reports that almost 1 million prisoners are doing simple, unskilled labor, including making office furniture, working in call centers, fabricating body armor, taking hotel reservations, working in slaughterhouses, and manufacturing textiles, shoes, and clothing, while getting paid somewhere between 93 cents and $4.73 a day.
Kathy Lee Gifford's probably on the board.
Compare the cost of less than $5 a day with the cost of a minimum wage worker at $58 a day, and you begin to see the perverse influence on the entire labor market. CNN Money reports that prison inmates are now directly competing for jobs in the rest of the economy, and employers are finding it increasingly difficult to keep up. Lost jobs are the result. They cite one company, American Apparel Incorporated, which makes military uniforms, and they write, quote, "We pay employees $9 on average." A company executive said they get full medical insurance, a 401k plan, and paid vacation. Yet we're competing against a federal program that doesn't pay any of that. The private prison is not required to pay its workers minimum wage. Instead, it pays inmates 23 cents to $1.15 an hour. It doesn't have health insurance costs. It also doesn't shell out federal, state, or local taxes.
It's only $18,000 a year to that $9 an hour.
Still, it's better than being behind bars, right? The new influx of cheap domestic labor will inevitably drive down wages for both skilled and unskilled jobs. Which is the truth, you know. Private companies, you know, if they don't want to get all hammered up about going to China for their labor, they say, okay, we'll make it here in the U.S., over here at the Supermax. They don't stamp out license plates no more. They make body armor. Holy shit. Okay, that's the end of that story. Stunning some of the stuff that you can find if you just dig around a little bit, you know. Okie dokie. We got about 15 minutes left in the show, and this is what I want to end with this with. This is for everybody's consumption. Please pay attention, people. This is very serious. This could get very, very, very serious. Please pay attention to this story. This is out of Munster, Indiana today. The first U.S. case of MERS has been reported in Indiana. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention said on Friday. The patient is currently being treated at Community Hospital in Munster. MERS, short for Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, is a type of coronavirus. The incubation period for MERS is 5 days. CDC and the Indiana State Department of Health are conducting a joint investigation on the first case of MERS-CoV in the United States. A virus known to humans was first reported in the Arabian Peninsula in 2012. The Indiana MERS case brings to the total confirmed cases worldwide to 401. 12 countries have reported cases. 12 countries. I didn't know that. The CDC and Indiana health officials say that the patient is a healthcare provider who recently traveled from Saudi Arabia. They are calling the case a rapidly evolving situation. The CDC also says they would not be surprised if additional MERS cases are identified in the U.S. They are approaching the situation with an abundance of caution, and that's in quotes. The patient flew from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia to London, England, and then to Chicago on April 24th. From Chicago, the patient took a bus to Indiana. On the 27th, the patient began to experience respiratory symptoms, including shortness of breath, coughing, and fever. The patient went to an emergency department in an Indiana hospital on April 28th and was admitted on that day. The patient is being well cared for and is isolated. The Indiana, obviously she wasn't isolated on the plane, or he. I'm not sure if it's a he or she. But,
or the bus.
Or the bus. Or when they first walked into the emergency room.
Or any restaurant that she ate at while she was there.
The Indiana Department of Health says the patient is a U.S. citizen but worked in Saudi Arabia. The patient was flown or was in town for a health conference. Family members have been notified. Community Hospital in Munster has contacted all high-risk individuals. In an abundance of caution, individuals who visited the ER of Community Hospital in Munster between 6:30 and 9:30 p.m. on April 28th should watch for signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
If you visited the ER during this time and begin experiencing symptoms, please call your healthcare provider and let them know about your possible exposure to MERS. The patient is in hospital in stable condition and is requiring oxygen. This is a quote from someone there, I think. We've anticipated MERS reaching the U.S. and we've prepared for and are taking swift action, said the CDC Director Tom Frieden. We're doing everything possible with the hospital, local, and state health officials to find people who may have been in contact with this person so they can be evaluated as appropriately as possible. This case reminds us that we are all connected by air that we breathe, the food we eat, and the water we drink. We can break the chain of transmission in this case through focused efforts here and abroad. Since the first documented case in spring of 2012, MERS has sickened at least 339 people in Saudi Arabia alone and killed nearly a third of them. It's understandable that some people may be concerned about the situation, but the first U.S. case of MERS infection represents a very low risk to the general public. Liar, 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 and shoe shot.
Yeah, right.
Assistant Surgeon General and Director of the CDC. Oh, she's getting paid well to lie, so. In some countries, the virus has spread from person to person through close contact, such as caring for or living with an infected person. However, there is currently no evidence of sustained spread of MERS in community settings. Federal, state, and local health officials are taking action to minimize the risk of spread of the virus. The Indiana hospital is using full precautions and avoided exposure within the hospital and among healthcare professionals and other people interacting with this patient. So, there you have it, folks. It wasn't Ebola. I thought it was going to be Ebola that made it here first. I was pretty certain it was going to be Ebola that made it here first. But, MERS in Indiana, right in the heartland, baby. Bang. Comments, Lance?
Nope.
Oh, come on.
Nope. I mean, it's so quick. I mean, I'm surprised Potter Blog?
Potter Blog, yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have anything out on it yet because they're usually Johnny on the spot with that stuff.
I thought they were going to be. I absolutely.
I'm sure they'll have something the next day, and they're very investigative. So maybe they're trying to do their groundwork before they report something.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
because that's interesting.
I just saw this thing that you dropped to me.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought you were going to mention that. Because it was interesting enough that I mentioned last Friday on the air that our weekend update, our financial update said, they were kind of hinting that there was going to be some turmoil in Ukraine, and they thought it might have been last weekend that would mess with the markets this week. However, it didn't. So maybe they were a week off.
Yeah. We still got 8 or 9 minutes, man. So let's go ahead and dive into this.
Well, you dropped enough stories, about the there's some stuff going down right now.
Yeah, Ukraine. I don't know if you people have been watching the news about Ukraine, but things are starting to kick off over there. The Ukrainian military has actually moved into 3 separate cities. Odessa and Slavyansk is the 2 that I saw really getting hammered by these assholes. In Odessa, I think the right-wing group actually set fire to a building and killed more than 3 dozen people. Now, the video that's coming out of there, you can see people on the street murdered, shot, dead, cold, laying there with flags laid over them. You can see a burnt body hanging out of one of the windows. And they said they haven't even gone in there and cleaned the bodies up yet. There's still just 30 some odd people burned to death laying around in the first 2 or 3 floors. And there's 50 people trapped on the roof because they won't let them get out the stairwells. And they're afraid if they open the doors, if they unbarricade things and try to make an escape, that they're going to throw them off the roof. So things are starting to come undone in Ukraine. I think the seam's coming apart between East and West.
Well, the IMF had a huge part in it with their,
$17 billion,
loan that they're given. So they're forcing this country, to accept this bribe that's going to put the payback on the backs of all the Ukrainians who don't support the system that the money's going to defend. So,
look, they're trying to say that the guy, this Yaz dude, whoever the hell they put into office there, is a duly elected president and running a duly elected government, and that's a bunch of bullshit. They're being run by the United Nations. They're being run by people out of Washington, and the other people in Ukraine aren't having it. They said we didn't even get a chance to talk about any of this. We want our referendum. We want our referendum. And by God, they're going to tear that country apart trying to get something accomplished. And the first little kerfuffle that happens within, earshot of the Russian border, God help them. It's very bad. Now, here's the story that Lance dropped me. I'm going to get this in before I run out of time here. This is out of Moscow. Ukraine's acting president has reinstated the military draft to address the deteriorating security situation and threats from Russia along the country's border. Propaganda. Acting President Alexander Turchnayev, whatever the hell his name is, issued a decree in the presidential website Thursday saying Ukraine will conduct a draft for military service in the Ukrainian armed forces in order to increase the state's defensive potential. The decree says Ukrainian male citizens who are physically qualified for military service over the age of 18, but who have not reached the age of 25 and who have no right for exemption from military service will be conscripted. That means you have no choice. Drafted. The statement says such measures are being taken because of the deteriorating situation in the east and south of Ukraine, activities of illegal formed armed pro-Russian groups, the seizure and blockade of the state administration buildings, military administration facilities, military bases pose a threat to Ukraine's territorial integrity. That's the end of the article. So they are initiating the draft in Ukraine.
This is against their own citizens,
right? They're killing each other.
Yes, their own civil war.
Some of these groups I've seen videotape on RT. Now look, you can think whatever you want to think about RT, but when you see it on videotape, it's pretty much happening right before your face. I mean, you can't deny what you're seeing, right? These groups are running down the streets and just grabbing people out of their cars and beating the shit out of them on the street, breaking their arms, breaking their legs, leaving them lay there bleeding, and just running off. Not calling the police, not calling the ambulance for them, just beating them and leaving them to die.
If they're wearing a uniform, it was paid for by the U.S. government.
It's just, I don't know what to say. I wish I was there. I wish I had the monetary means to be able to go over there and see this for myself, so that I know that I'm reporting the truth.
Nah, you're fine where you're at. I wouldn't.
Well, no, but you know what I mean? I want to know the truth about what's happening over there. I really, honest to God, want to know the truth. I want to know why our government has anything to say about what's going on in that country. That is not our country. They do not affect us whatsoever.
It's that treaty that we signed with them in 91 that we had to promise them money, and then therefore we have influence because we're giving them money.
Whatever.
I mean, we helped broker that deal back then. We promised to stay involved. That's why we had to give them the loan, et cetera,
whatever,
et cetera.
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. You know, we got $5 billion to spend over there propping up some kind of puppet government, but we've got bridges falling down in this country. We've got homeless people living in the streets. We got, you know, corrupt assholes on Wall Street just ruining our economy. We got banks taking homes with no legal right and blah, but we got money to throw. Yeah, what? Come on.
Just greed.
It's just ridiculous. I don't know what else to say about this. We're going to watch World War III unfold right in front of our eyes, people. That's exactly what we're watching. This is, you know, NATO against Russia. And you know, when this kicks off, Russia's got China right in their back pocket. Iran's right there with them.
And Iran, yep.
This is,
and
look what's happening.
More,
nobody's saying a goddamn word. Everybody's just sitting there watching the shit happen on television.
No, they're not watching it.
In this country they are, goddammit. They're not doing nothing. They're not saying nothing.
No, they're watching television, but they're not watching it on television.
Well, they see the 30-second sound bites on the news.
The only place you're going to get the news is through places like us or other alternative means. You know, I clicked on Yahoo or AOL the other day and, you know, clicked through the stories that was news and everything else. Dude, that stuff's not news. That is not news that the American public needs to stay informed with what's going on in the rest of the world. Now, if all your goal is to keep them sheeple, there's plenty of news for that.
Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, I look around and it's just, you know, I feel like that Indian, back in that commercial in the 70s where the trash was all on his land and he had a tear in his eye.
Yep.
I feel like that Indian sometimes when I look around and I read stories. We talk about stuff on the air and I'm like, it's gone. I mean, it's gone.
I made the comment starting Monday when all the storms started ripping through the Midwest and South, killing people by the dozens and just tearing up millions of dollars worth of property and whatever. And I went to Facebook and I looked at their trending list on the right. Mm-hmm. Not one mention of it for 3-4 days. Not one mention of it. Yeah. I was like, okay, you people just, you know,
nothing.
That's what's trending now. That's not what Facebook decides to put up there. That's what people are talking about on the site. You know, it wasn't like that on Twitter. Twitter was, I mean, you know, there was all kinds of nasties. There's a couple of stories actually that I'd like to I'm either going to hit them tomorrow night when we do, after the last cup or, maybe on Monday's show. There's a couple of very touching stories that came out of Central Arkansas. So we'll try to hit all that when we can.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, and love. Peace and love, everybody. Go out and hug somebody. Do something that you always wanted to do. Shit's getting real. Pay attention to what's happening around you, folks. Stay tuned. Turboville's replays next. Then we got some, probably prime time, I'm guessing. Anti-Media Radio later on with Levon. Peace, everybody. Take care. Thanks, Lance.